There's real power in words, and that's part of why TVO's got a new podcast about the meaning and cultural significance of our evolving vocabularies. Here to tell us more, the hosts of the TVO podcast, Word Bomb, Pippa Johnstone and Karina Palmitesta. Welcome to the show. Now, before we get into it, and do a deep dive, I want to show a little clip from your podcast, Word Bomb.
Karina, tell us, how do you feel about the word moist?
I mean, I'm in that part of the population that thinks it's a gross word. I just think it sounds gross when you say it. It sounds gross applied to nouns, like any noun.
I think I can kind of relate, but I really just don't care.
Yeah, you don't have a reaction to it.
Not at all. It's just an adjective. But I do think it's fascinating that so many people think it's the most disgusting word in the entire world.
Mm-hmm.
The word moist has a seriously terrible track record. People hate the word moist.
Mm-hmm.
So that's you two on your brand new TVO podcast, Word Bomb. Lots of giggling as that was going on. Karina, I gotta know, why don't you like the word moist?
You know, I go through a bit of a narrative arc in that episode, I have to say. So, I'm a bit of a changed woman now. But when we were talking about it, we just realized how common it was for people to despise this word and how much it's been written about and on all of these lists saying worst word ever, worst word in the English language. I think people are just squicked out by it. It's just... yeah, people find it gross. Yeah.
Now, it seems like a fairly frivolous conversation about a pet peeve word. But as you go through that arc, it's quite enlightening in terms of what you guys were able to find. What did you learn exploring the most hated word?
Well, my instinct on it before we started research was that maybe it had something to do with gender, maybe something to do with anatomy. And it turned out in our research that was a little bit of the factor. There's also a ton of other reasons why somebody might hate the word moist, which we do get into in the episode, so I don't want to give too many spoilers away.
Right.
But there's so much about our psychology that is revealed in our words.
Now, it's also funny to kind of hate that word, moist. But what about the truly complex conversations about the controversial words? Give us a quick list, if you can, of some of the more controversial words that you guys kind of cover.
Yeah, well, controversial is an interesting word choice in itself because some of the words are words that have like a little bit of a generational gap between them. So, for example, we do a word, the singular they, which is a gender-neutral pronoun relating to people who are non-binary, who don't identify as male or female. So that word, for my generation, maybe not so controversial. Maybe for the generation my mom belongs to, a little bit of a sticking point.
Now, was there some concern? I'm sure there was going through the words, what words you guys were going to cover. Were there some words that, you know, was there some fear in some of the words? Was there some power in these words that you guys maybe didn't want to cover or that you really wanted to cover?
Yeah, there were some words that we definitely had conversations about whether we wanted to do. Some words that represented a bit more of a risk on our part. I think doxx was one of them. We do an episode on doxing, which is a kind of online harassment where your address and personal information is published. Can
you spell doxx for me?
Yeah, D-O-X-X, or sometimes D-O-X. It sort of varies. So we had the conversation of like, ugh, yeah, this could go a bad way, I guess, and it could be a little risky to talk about because sometimes people who talk about doxing get doxed. But in the end, I think we were just interested in the words. We followed our gut and picked ones that we wanted to dive deeper into for a bunch of reasons.
Yeah, and I'll add to that, there's another side of the fear, which is that we might be talking out of turn because some of the words relate to communities that we don't belong to. And so for those, we really rely on the guests. We have at least 2 guests for every episode, and we really rely on personal experience, lived experience to tell that story.
I want to get an idea when you guys end on a word or figure out a word that you guys are going to work on. It seems like you guys really get into the history and the research of it. How much research are you guys doing for a word like doxing? You guys really went back and you guys pulled up some case studies as well. Tell me about that, kind of the process and the research.
Yeah, you want to feel that?
Yeah, I think it's, like Pippa was saying, it's a combination of research and talking to people who have personal experience with what we're talking about. So for that episode, talking to Molly Sauter was really great. Molly's internet expert and had so much to say about all this kind of stuff, and it was really interesting to sit down with them and just go through it. Yeah.
One of the things you touched on was the kind of, what do these words say about generational divides? I had a funny conversation with a colleague upstairs about the new segment about moist, and it was talking about how, you know, for me, I kind of had that same kind of reaction, but to her there was, at the time, it was, you know, women don't sweat, they're moist, was a term that was said, that she said that's why it wasn't uncomfortable for her. Can you talk about the generational kind of divides that come with these words?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of the words we chose are because that spawned out of conversations we had with older generations. So we're not doing an episode on the word queer, but for example, a friend of mine was described as queer a few years ago. And my mom asked, what's the difference between that and being a lesbian? And I was like, oh, in my generation, that word is common parlance. We all have a great understanding of it, but an older generation might not. So we try to find these words where we can bring my generation a better sense of the history and the context, and bring the older generation an idea of where the word is evolving towards.
Kind of meeting in the middle. One of our other episodes is on the word partner. And it actually came about because I had a bit of a squabble with my mom about who uses the word partner to refer to their significant other, and whether it's okay, and what's the better word to use. And we were talking about it, and about how we would love to meet in the middle of that conversation and have something that's approachable for someone a bit older and for someone that might be our age.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Now, in your very first episode, it's all about the word fat. You explain an interesting concept called the Euphemism Treadmill. Can you tell us what that is?
Right. So the Euphemism Treadmill is it's a phrase that was coined by Steven Pinker. He's a U.S. Linguist and psychologist, and it's describing the process by which an offensive word is replaced by a new word, which then becomes offensive in about a generation, which is then replaced by another word. And it's just a sort of never-ending cycle of every word in the chain becoming offensive and being replaced. Yeah.
Now, fat seems like a pretty simple word compared to some of the words like doxing that you guys look at. Why was it important that you started with a word like fat, and why did you explore that?
I think fat is a really good place to start because A, like you said, it's a word that everybody knows. And unfortunately, for better or worse, we all have a pretty personal connection to that word. So I think it was a perfect word because the actual meaning of the word isn't changing, but the connotation is changing. There's a huge generation of fat activists who are working to take that stigma away from the word, make it an adjective as neutral as tall or short. But there's also another generation or another population, probably the majority of our population, that would think of the word fat as an offensive slur, maybe.
What do you guys hope? I know you guys will be exploring a word every week that people take away from your podcast.
I think we hope that we can diffuse a bit of the gut reactions that these words bring out in people and bring some context and some understanding so we can use words more effectively and with a bit more sensitivity.
Diffuse, nice bomb metaphor.
Uh-oh.
Very good.
I imagine you guys are probably like walking around and like if you hear a word, you're like, how about that word? And just like start opening books and like researching.
I have a list in my phone that's
a big list.
Very scrolled down, yeah.
Yeah, you definitely start listening a little harder to conversations and think, oh, how could I bridge that gap or that little hiccup?
And you're an editor as well, so you
Yes.
come across words all the time, and it's something that you kind of pick up in the podcast if you listen. It's you know, phrases and idioms that you hear, like, oh, those are interesting. So I imagine a lot of your friends are probably like, how about that one?
Yes.
How about you explore that one?
Yeah.
Can you tell me where and when can we listen and subscribe to this podcast?
Well, we're on a lot of podcast platforms. So we're on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify now. And you can also listen at tvo.org/wordbomb.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure having you on.
Likewise.
Definitely subscribe to TVO's newest podcast, Word Bomb.
The Agenda with Steve Bacon is brought to you by the Chartered Professional Accountants of Ontario. helping businesses stay on the right side of change with strategic thinking, insightful decisions, and business leadership. Are you on the right side of change? Ask an Ontario CPA.